To do now, But I want to start with a simple story, a fictional story. And let's call these two guys John and Paul, just for the sake of storytelling. John and Paul have a lot in common. They grew up in the same neighborhood. Their parents are also best of friends. Their parents were law practitioners, and they also took that passion, went to law school together, and even began to work together. So at this time, the time that I'm talking about, they happen to be working on a case together. John is leading the case and Paul is supporting. But they also spend fun times together playing basketball. And so John says to Paul, "See you in court tomorrow." And the next day, John shows up in his Italian suit, well-pressed shirt, and his suitcase, and Paul shows up in his basketball jersey with the basketball and with trainers. Apparently, when they both heard court, different things came to mind. One of them thought about the courtroom, and then the other one thought about basketball court. And what I'm trying to say is this. One of the things I've learned to do when I'm trying to convince people about anything is to first establish the definition of the terms. Because many times when people fail to agree, it is usually because they are thinking about different things. Especially in 2026, when we have different definitions for the same thing. It's very important that off the jump, we try to make sure that we're imagining the same thing before we move on. I'll give you a similarly unrelated example. The example of alpha male. In many podcasts, when you hear alpha male, you think of someone who is muscular, rude, brash, and something like that. But the terminology, they try to borrow the concept from observing dogs and observing wolves. And when you look at the pack, you see something different. In every pack, there is usually a dog or a wolf that is confrontational, the first to attack, the loudest. And for many people who don't really understand dog behaviors, they think that that's the leader of the pack, that's the alpha. Because it's loud and confrontational. But when you study carefully, the real alpha actually doesn't really talk much. And when it's time to act, he just shows up with a lot of confidence, and everybody knows who the leader is. But that's not even what I want to really drive at. Many people bring the alpha concept into the dynamics of relationship, and very disappointing that they do so. Because they use that to try to subjugate women. I'm headed somewhere, just follow me. And to be unkind to women. But again, the reason why in the animal world any animal is referred to as the alpha is because when any predator comes, he knows the onus is on him to defend the entire pack, even if it was going to cost him his life. So the alpha is not somebody who is just looking for free privileges for no other reason but because he's the leader and more muscular and maybe brings food and puts it on the table. It's a sacrificial role. I think that the biblical definition of leadership holds sway here, that anyone who will be great amongst you should be your servant. Come on, are you getting what I'm saying? And I said all of that to say this. When you think of audacity, it's the same thing that applies. There is a picture that you have. And I said all of that to say this. When you think of audacity, it's the same thing that applies. There is a picture that you have. Maybe to be audacious, you have to be confrontational or even fearless. Many audacious people have just learned to manage their fears and to do things afraid. Come on, now you get what I'm saying? So what I want to first do is to bring it within your realm of comprehension and reach, to let you know that it's something that you also can achieve in your own context. You know, speaking about alphas, just imagine if the social construct is right, you wouldn't see someone like Mark Zuckerberg as an alpha. But guess what? If such a person walks into any room filled with guys, a lot of people will defer to him. Guys, am I saying the truth? So it just tells you that there is more to that label than meets the eye.